All right, all right. We are live. We are back. Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome. We got some people up in here. Come to see how John Q is doing. Well, much love to you for being here, showing love like you always do. Hello. My goodness. We got some people. Let's see who's in the house. You know how we do it here. Double rainbows in blue, holding it down. Good to see you. RJ is in the house. RJ, sit tight, brother. We're going to have a link for you. glad that you can make it to this live. I missed your live with Mr. Boss Blake on your channel yesterday. Heard you guys had a real good discussion and conversation, as we always do. We got Jackie Barty in the house. Hello to you, Miss Jackie. And yes, thank you, Double Rainbows, for being here. Holding it down. You sent me an email. I'll check my spam folder. I didn't see anything from you. If it's under Double Rainbows. 9mm. Good to see you. Good to be back. Thank you, bro, for being here. Love the intro. I do too. D Love is in the house. Much love to you, D Love. True supporter. Avid supporter. My goodness. Charlie K. Brother Charlie K is in the house. We got Kim Tucky in the house. Kim Tucky. How are you? Welcome. You are a new watcher. Well, thank you for joining us today. Definitely. Nosy Bug is in the house. Being nosy today, Nosy Bug. You don't need to be nosy here. We give the information freely here. Definitely. All right, but good to see everybody. I got 16 people and growing. They'll say, oh my goodness, John Q is on. Let me see what he's talking about. He's got this new case he's working on. Yes, I do. Also, still working on the Daniel Robinson case behind the scenes. I know I haven't been really giving you guys updates. I've been waiting for some time to get Mr. Robinson, Daniel's father, give him some airtime with us so that he can give you those updates directly. But he is making progress on a one step at a time basis. He's covering all the bases, and we're still in the background looking at some things and just double checking certain pieces of information pertaining to that police report. Because as far as I know now, there are about 5 police reports. So we got to get all 5 on the table, and we got to start to chop all 5 up to find out what's changed, what's been modified, what's been amended. Get some questions on those reports as to the reason why. We're still working on that. We have been observing the Summer Wells case. Very important case still today. It marks a 1-year anniversary that little Summer's been missing. 5-year-old Summer Wells went missing out of Rogersville, Tennessee. And there was a police press conference on it yesterday as well. They pretty much told us that they're still on the case. The case is not cold. Everything is still on the table. They're just looking for credible, solid information for Summer's location. There were certain words I noticed that Sheriff Lawson had mentioned yesterday. Also, along with Sheriff Lawson, he had Miss Ebhart from TBI, and it was a short press conference. Pretty much what they've been telling us for quite some time. So the case remains idle at this point. Donald Wells is still in jail. His release date is somewhere between August, I believe, middle of August, possibly the end of August. Going to serve 6 months, and if he's been a good boy, they'll release him based upon a court order to get some help. Hopefully he'll do that. But we'll see. We'll see. Very important. We also covered two major cases. One out of Buffalo, New York, pertaining to the shooting at the Tops Food Market. And we're still looking at that, watching that case carefully, as well as the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. 21 people lost their lives. A lot of mistakes have been made in that case from top to bottom, and people are pointing the fingers. One of the main questions of that case is that person who had the school door open stated that they closed the door and assumed it would lock. If it did, how the hell did the shooter get into the school if it did lock? Controversial. Key point of interest in that case is that door and the teacher that was there, supposedly or allegedly going out to get some food from the car in 90-degree heat. Who would leave food in the car? But we'll find out as that case begins to break down the details. But it's good to see everybody. I thank you for being here. Yep, another Maria is in the house. Kentucky Cutie is in the house. Let's see if I missed anybody. Good to see everybody. Hopefully everybody's had a good week. The temperatures are rising, and so are these stories. Today, we're going to be getting into a story that Mr. Boss Blake had brought to my attention, and that is the mysterious death of Jermaine Covington, 41-year-old black male who lost his life in police custody. And we've got off and running on Mr. Boss Blake's channel, covered a good portion of the story, starting to dig into that particular case. And today we are going to be going right back into it and share with you some additional things that we've been able to look over. We've been sent a lot of information from Miss Naisha, Mr. Covington's wife. I don't know if Naisha is in the building, but I will keep my eyes and ears open for Miss Naisha. She has consented and had given us permission to share with you a lot of the case story. This is another unusual circumstance where someone loses their life in police custody. It's not supposed to happen. They're supposed to bring you to court. Supposed to go to court, not end up dead. And so in this case, out of New Jersey, is a very interesting one indeed. I'm going to share that information. I'm going to be joined by Mr. Boss Blake momentarily. And also, we're going to drop the link for RJ. Love to have you up on the panel. I know you've been sent some information by Mr. Boss Blake in reference to this case. Your insights and input, very valuable based on what you've been able to obtain so far, understand so far, maybe even have questions about. We're still chugging and digging through a mountain of information. There was one document, 229 pages, which of course involves a lot: police reports, autopsy, toxicology, location, officers involved, their statements, a host of stuff, along with pictures that we've been analyzing and looking at. And we're going to be very, very cautious as to what we share in terms of information, and try to make some sense out of what happened. This case also needs justice. There were some things that weren't handled right in this case. And I believe that there was a major safety violation that took place at that particular police precinct on Hillside. Oh, great, RJ. Great. So with that said, and everybody's warmed up in the room, so am I. We got to know that we got to know which way to go, so you know how we do it. So you all ready? Type of 1 for a good sound check. Make sure I'm coming in loud and clear. And then we can go to work. So why don't we do that right now? All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. We got a couple more people. Cold Pepsi, good to see you. Cold Pepsi is in the house. Blue Devil G is in the house. Welcome. My goodness, y'all piling up in here. Good to see you. And that was my new intro. Produced, directed, and written and put together and arranged by Mr. Boss Blake. And since I have his name on my mind, why don't we bring him up? Mr. Boss Blake is in the house. Welcome.
What's going on? Hello, everyone in the chat. Appreciate y'all being here. Boss is in the building.
Yes, yes, definitely. Great to have you on a special live pertaining to the mysterious death of Jermaine Covington out of New Jersey,
Yeah,
which is a story that you brought to my attention, having direct contact with uh, Mrs. Covington, Miss Naisha, and it grabbed me the moment you laid it in front of my eyes, and I said it was something that um, I could I could work with you and assist you in getting out there and getting exposed and everything. So I appreciate that.
most definitely appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Triple C's for actually putting me in contact with Miss Naisha because without Triple C's, I would have never even knew anything about this case. And I want to thank Miss Naisha for trusting us for bringing this or putting this story out here for the public, even though it's 4 years old. We gonna do what we can to bring some more light to this case because it's a lot of inconsistencies and things that just don't add up. So y'all don't go nowhere.
Right, definitely. And wanted to say hello to Ray Allen, who's in the house as well. See him show up. See him show up in the chat, but I don't see him show up on my secondary device. But welcome, Ray. Good to have you. Oh, now I see him. Okay. I know what I did. I didn't scroll. I didn't scroll. All right. So, yeah, tonight we're going to be bringing this story from Mr. Boss Blake. If you haven't seen that live, definitely check that out. We can consider that a part one intro step that we were able to cover some of the foundation that we've landmarked to open up this case and to begin getting it exposed. Miss Lorraine Muhammad is in the house. Welcome, love. Always good to see you. And everybody's sending shout outs and love to you, Mr. Boss Blake, for being on panel today. My goodness.
Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody. Salute, Blue Devil, what's happening? Nosy Bug, Lorraine, the Lioness, everybody in the chat. We appreciate y'all for being here.
Absolutely. Lorraine the Lioness. Okay. Ooh, Queen Lioness is in the house. All right, so let me see if I can get this up over here so we can take a look at where we can begin. And we begin tonight in regards to the mysterious death of Jermaine Covington. Now, if you haven't heard about this story, um, it's not a lot of information on it because the story takes place way back in June 22nd of 2018, where Mr. Covington was apparently, allegedly in some kind of vehicle accident, and police were called in regards to this event and was able to arrest Mr. Covington or reckless endangerment or driving recklessly or whatever have you. But there was also some additional information that put a question mark into this case. One call said that he had a gun. Another call to them, they responded for reckless driving. And then things started to build up into something else. And so, if you haven't heard about this story, once again, it does take place in 2018. And we began looking at it only because of the peculiarities of the Vertus Morgan Jr. case.
Most definitely.
On that report, Mr. Vertus Morgan Jr. Was a case where another gentleman committed suicide. This case was also deemed a suicide. But a lot of the information that we're able to go over and cover, and a lot of the documentation that Miss Naisha had sent to us doesn't deem a suicide. In fact, it's more foul play in this than meets the eye. So this is to the left of the screen is Jermaine Covington, his son in the middle, and Miss Naisha, his wife. Of how many years, boss?
Oh man, you will put me on the spot on that one.
Oh, okay. I know it's a
It's been
number
a
of
while.
yeah, a number of
They
years.
was no matter of fact, they got married. I want to say in 2004. At least that's when they started dating.
Okay. So yes,
13 and a half years. She got it in the chat. She's in the
13 and a
building.
half years. Okay. 13.5. Thank you, Miss Naisha. And welcome. Welcome to a special live coverage of the mysterious death of Jermaine Covington out of New Jersey. And we do have the wife of Mr. Covington, Miss Naisha, is in the house. So welcome her. Give her prayers and hearts, because anyone that comes to John Q's room knows what John Q is doing, knows what John Q is working on. And that's helping families get justice. They're being led in the right direction towards getting some kind of justice and closure for the events that happens to their family members or people that they consider loved ones. So thank you so much for showing up. And so with that said, Mr. Boss Blake, I know that we had an article. Let me see if I can bring that up so that we can begin tonight's live. Was there anything else you wanted to share before we begin?
No, let's go ahead and get this thing started.
Let's get it started. Like we always say, let's go to work. Find that article. All right. Boom. Boom. Let me know when you can see that.
I see it.
Okay. All right. So the article out of New Jersey during that time, this was posted on January 3rd. This was actually published on January 3rd of 2019 at 10:47. It was updated on January 9th of 2019 at 10:32. And here we have the story of a handcuffed man killed himself with a cop's gun. 6 months later, officials still won't say what went wrong. It's one of those stories, folks. Officials won't say. I don't like the word won't. Still won't say what went wrong. This is a beautiful picture of them. This is Jermaine Covington left, smiles with his wife, Naisha. The right is their son. I think it's Nige in this updated family photo. Okay, so to begin unpacking this, let's see what Rebecca Everett for the NewJersey.com news has to say, and then we're going to start taking a deep dive into a lot of the information that we want to share with you today. So it states here, as Jermaine Covington was being arrested on June 22nd after allegedly fleeing an accident, eluding police, and attempting a carjacking, he said he wanted to die. and asked police to shoot him, according to police reports. The attorney for his wife said Covington was apparently upset that he had crashed her BMW. If the Hillside Township officers were worried that Covington's comments meant he was an imminent suicide risk, they didn't mention those concerns or any steps they took to address them in several reports about the incident. If they thought that the 41-year-old Maryland man wasn't serious about wanting to die, they were wrong. That's interesting. He was handcuffed with his right hand onto a bar in the processing room, and he dropped a cup of coffee or water on the floor. A police officer went over and picked up the cup from the floor. Eldridge Hawkins, attorney for Covington's widow, said in an interview last month, Mr. Covington reached out with his left hand and pulled the gun out of the holster and shot himself dead. Hawkins said he knows that is what happened because he watched the video of the incident, captured by police station's recording system in a meeting at the Union County Prosecutor's Office. But his client, Miss Naisha, said she walked out of the meeting before the video was played. Although her husband has had previous mental health issues, she does not believe he killed himself. Mr. Boss Blake, would you like to make any comments before I continue?
Now, just so everyone know, she walked out of the room for a reason. She actually was there when it began, but what she saw on the footage didn't sit right with her. She felt like it was edited. So that's the reason why she walked out.
Right.
She expected her lawyer, which was Mr. Hawkins at that time, to come out and, say, hey, what's going on? He never did. So I just want to make sure you understand why she did not watch it. But you can continue, John.
Right. And I want to welcome some of the new folks that have just come in. Miss Liplock No More is in the house, content creator. Much love to you. Miss Cher from Voices Behind the Wall, content creator, is in the house. Much love and welcome. Tanya M is in the house. Where y'all coming from? Well, tell me you send me a love bomb. Let's go bomb John Q. He's on tonight. Uh-oh. Let's see what he's talking about. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, Miss Naisha said, I walked out when I heard him getting beat from the officer. Beat in the car. And I think there was an audio portion that Mr. Boss Blake and I were able to listen to carefully. And that's what it did sound like. There was a lot of scuffling and things of that nature in the background, and you can actually hear the police officer, telling him to get into the car and cooperate and all this other stuff. And if I can remember, according to the records that we've covered, how tall is he? He's about 5'10".
Yes, 5'10".
Okay, 5'10" in the back of an officer's vehicle, handcuffed. And those compartments are very tight. You notice that it seems like they're more tighter than they were before. You used to have some leg room and everything. Now everything is like bulky and they got you bunched up in a whole lot of plastic partitions almost, along with bulletproof glass. Just it's way too much.
If you're claustrophobic, that ain't the place for you.
Yeah.
I've been in the back of a police car before over something real petty, but and this is when I was a football player and I was fresh out of college, and man, just imagine being in a tightly squeezed area with handcuffs behind your back. It's not a very
Behind
yeah,
your
it's not
back,
a
yeah.
comfortable place to be. I can promise you that.
Right. So, what happened to Jermaine Covington has been a bizarre and confounding story since day one. Over the last 6 months, authorities stayed tight lipped about a man in custody could have killed himself and what could have been done to prevent it. Prosecutor's office declined to confirm Hawkins' description of what happened. Covington's widow said she and her attorney cannot get basic reports about the arrest, let alone her husband's possessions, as Hillside police say the ongoing investigation prevents their release. Both Hawkins and Miss Naisha said that they had been told by authorities that the police pursuit of Covington began because officers believed he had carjacked the BMW. But police reports later obtained by New Jersey Advanced Media contradicts that. Hawkins said he doesn't want to file a wrongful death suit without basic information, but he will have to if authorities continue to stonewall him. Changes made? What is clear is that the Hillside Police Department didn't waste much time in making changes to prevent future shootings in the processing area. Police Chief Vincent Riccardia declined to comment, but department policies obtained through a records request show that a big change went into effect 11 days after Covington's death. Officers must now lock their guns in secure cabinets before going in any area of the department where arrestees are being held, while before that was the case in the department's cell area. No firearms are allowed in the report room, processing room, or cell block areas at any point in time while a detainee is present. There shall be no exceptions, the new policy states. It also says that a shift commander should be notified immediately if a detainee makes any suicidal statements. So here is a policy that they had changed 11 days after Covington's death, which is a major change in police policy because of what happened. I always thought that that's what they did out of sheer safety protocol in all police precincts. You never go into a processing area with your sidearm. What would be the reason for you? What would be the reason for you to have a sidearm in such compartmentalized areas, such as a processing room, a waiting room, holding pen, et cetera, for you to have your sidearm there when you have additional officers that are there that have already checked for security clearances?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in that event, they made two major policy changes just so they could reveal a mistake. That's just my observation so far. And it's a safety violation. And by this being present at that time was a contributing factor in causing the death of Mr. Jermaine Covington. As you see here with his son. Union County Prosecutor's Office said Friday that it completed an investigation into what happened June 22nd, but cannot release the findings due to internal affair rules. Okay, so they were checked out by internal affairs. However, the investigation did not reveal information that any Hillside Police Department representative committed any acts of criminality, the office said in a statement. The prosecutor's office and the Union Township Police did release some reports. I like that. They did release some reports, 911 calls, and dispatch recordings to New Jersey Advanced Media last week in response to public records requests. They revealed details about the alleged chase and the crash that led to Covington's arrest. For Miss Naisha, the information just raised more questions. She said police have not been forthcoming with her from the beginning. When they told her that her husband died, she said police wouldn't explain how. It makes it hard to trust anything they say, she said. I'm not getting closure. Nobody cares. He's just another black man, she said. She said the loss is especially hard for their son. And that's Jermaine Covington, who turned 14 in December. My heart breaks for him because there's nothing I can do to bring this man back, she said, as she fought back tears. This just hurts so bad. Added stress was her belief that her husband's body had been cremated without her consent. Let me read that one time, one more again. Adding to her distress was her belief that her husband's body had been cremated without her consent, because his death certificate said so. She said that the Plimpton Curry Funeral Home agreed to preserve the body in case of further investigation was needed. But since then, the funeral home has not returned her calls or allowed her lawyer to see the body. Funeral director Ronald Curry said the body is still being preserved in refrigeration, and cremation is listed on the document because that is the family's ultimate plan for the body. He said he does not understand why the attorney needs to see the body because he is not a pathologist and the family has a medical examiner's report. Curry also said he agreed to take the body from another funeral home to help the Covington family, but it has been a half a year and he has not been paid for most of his work. I'm going to stop right there and let that sink in, folks. Their attorney could not see his body, verify that the body that they had was of Jermaine Covington. No answers were given as to the reason how he died to Miss Naisha. These are public officials there to report to the public. All of a sudden, when something happens and it's bad on their side, they get tight-lipped. You can't see the body. Why should the attorney be allowed the privilege of seeing a body? He's not even a pathologist. I would say, well, why the hell would he need to be a pathologist when he's only there to verify that it is Jermaine Covington? Just like they would give any notification to a family member that something has happened to one of their loved ones as positive identification, or have that person come down to the city morgue to identify, medical examiner's office to identify, to confirm by a family member that, yes, that is my husband. Yes, that is my wife. Yes, that is my brother, my sister, my uncle, my niece, etc., etc. In this case, it was stonewalled. Stonewalled. How upset, how frustrated would you be? Mr. Boss Blake?
Man, look, Point blank. Period. You said it all. Um, the way Miss Naisha was treated when this originally happened, and throughout the time that she's been seeking justice, is just it speaks volumes on how we can't trust the people that's supposed to protect and serve us. And we speak on this all the time on my page. I'm pretty sure John talks about it as well. When someone is seeking help, and the help that comes to you is really not help, what would you think? If the people that were sent to you, or you say someone requested you to be a great lawyer, and they really didn't have your best interest at heart, what would you think, John?
Uh-huh.
I mean, to me, it's like, oh, so you working with them to help them, but you're trying to get information from me to help them.
Right. Right.
Nah, that don't sit right with me.
And in this particular situation, we're just starting to warm up, folks, because this starts to take some heavy, heavy turns. Okay. Why was he arrested? Okay. Miss Covington said her husband grew up in Newark and got pulled into the street life. He was convicted of selling drugs in 1994 and 2003 and was injured in a shooting. But he turned his life around when they moved to Maryland in 2004, she said. I know he had a record before. I took Jermaine out of New Jersey to give him a better life, she said. He became a landscaper despite injuries to his hip and left arm. That man worked every day. That's why it's hard for her to believe that her husband was just trying to carjack people in Hillside on June 22nd, as police have said. The only reason he was in New Jersey, she said, was to pick her up from the Newark Liberty International Airport. Though they lived in Baltimore, she had flown out of Newark when she went on a trip to the Dominican Republic with friends. She waited at the airport for him to pick her up that afternoon, but he was already dead. Hours earlier, around 1:30 p.m., police had received reports of a man in a black or blue BMW who struck a car and was driving on the wrong side of the road on Stuyvesant and Roosevelt Avenues in Union Township, according to reports and dispatch recordings. Township officer David Popick wrote in a report that he pursued the vehicle, but he eventually called off the high-speed chase. He said he later learned that two officers on Stuyvesant Avenue had nearly been rammed by the same BMW as it drove on the sidewalk. Now, this just gives you a little schematic of that intersection. The next 911 call came in at 1:46 p.m. A man said he saw the BMW with Maryland plates crash into a telephone pole on Route 22 in Hillside and saw the driver run away, holding a gun. Police searched but couldn't find him. This is an excerpt of the police report about the arrest of Jermaine Covington on June 22nd of 2018. And it was right there on that corner area where all this happened. Crashed the car into a telephone pole, according to this schematic. But let's read on. Then at 3:40 p.m., Hillside officers radioed that they had seen the man try unsuccessfully to carjack a vehicle at a car wash. They chased and arrested him as he was trying to kick in the door to a building on Leo Street, the report said. Police said they did not recover a gun from Covington or at the site. Well, let me come back out of here. Okay, let me continue reading on the last part here, and then we can show you what we've been able to locate. At the scene, he was uncooperative and yelling he wanted to die, Popik's report said. Hillside Township Officer Natalie Oganowski noted in her report that as Covington walked toward the cruiser, he repeated, "Why didn't they shoot me? You should have shot me." So yes, a lot of questions do remain. Authorities redacted parts of the report. They always love redacting reports. Wonder why. Excuse me. Authorities redacted parts of the report that dealt with Covington's death. Uh-oh. But the dispatch logs and Covington's death certificate shows he was at the station for 26 minutes before he shot himself in the head at 4:46 p.m. Keep that time number in your mind. 4:46, folks. As per the medical examiner's office, he was pronounced dead by a medical professional 31 minutes later. The dispatch logs show police call the prosecutor's office, Chief Riccardi, and EMS at 4:49 p.m. 50 minutes later, 5 Hillside officers were taken to Newark Beth Israel Hospital to be checked, the log says. Meanwhile, Miss Naisha was at the airport, worried because her husband didn't answer his phone or pick her up. She went to her brother's house, where police contacted her to verify that the BMW was hers and asked her to come to the station. They eventually told her Covington had killed himself, but they wouldn't say how. She said that they asked whether he had mental issues, and she confirmed that he was bipolar and saw a therapist. Y'all starting to get that's why I'm going slow, so that you can get all the details as to what is being stated about Mr. Covington. She said he eventually guessed out loud and had shot himself with one of their guns. No one would confirm it. But she read it in the news the following day. They wouldn't let her see his body, she said. Miss Naisha says she doubts that her husband killed himself partly because he had limited use of his left arm from an old injury, and that was the hand he supposedly used to grab the gun. She thinks he was actually beaten to death, despite what police and the medical examiner said. When she saw her husband's body and took photographs at the funeral home, his skin was missing from a large part of his forehead, but she said she never saw a gunshot wound. While she and her lawyer disagree on how he was killed, they both agree that Covington should not have died, and that the Hillside Police Department should have to answer for what happened. He didn't deserve to die. He was just scared, she said. Hawkins said a civil complaint is in the works, and he hopes the formal discovery process will mean more answers for Miss Naisha and her son, who are in mourning. My client is extremely extremely in grief because no one will answer, he said. The Union County Prosecutor's Office issued the following statement on January 9th. We extend our deepest sympathies to the friends, families, and loved ones of Mr. Covington. It is out of respect for them that we have repeatedly declined to public comment on the circumstances of his death, and even redacted portions of publicly released documents that refer to it. However, according to every available and applicable piece of evidence, including video footage, any allegation that any other person deliberately contributed to or caused his death is objectively and demonstrably false. In other words, it didn't happen the way other people think or said these things happened to Mr. Covington. So they're flat out denying any foul play, malfeasance. You decide. Mr. Boss Blake?
Yes, sir. I was just actually trying to do some back work while you was talking. I was trying to get that for you, which is awkward.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't see me in the chat. I was putting in the private chat, so
Okay.
doing some work while we working.
Okay.
But
Tuxton Nico, welcome. David Dundee, welcome. I see some new people jumped up in here. Lakeisha Douglas, welcome.
what was the last thing you left off on? Because I heard most of it.
I'm sorry, say again?
What was the last thing you left off on?
The last thing?
Yeah, the last thing you just said.
Oh, the names in the room?
No, man, no. The last thing you just left off on the case, bro.
The last point I left from the case. Hold on, I got to go back to that page. I got to find the daggone thing. Handcuffed a man. In reference to what the attorney said?
Yes.
Okay, my client is extremely in grief because no one will answer, he said.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to what I was stating earlier. Like, she can't get any resolve from no one.
Yet no information, no answers, and the police saying, however, according to every available and applicable piece of evidence, including video footage, any allegation that any other person deliberately contributed to or caused his death is objectively and demonstrably wrong. So they're flat out denying any of the allegations that Miss Naisha and her attorney are alleging.
Of course.
In their case.
Of course. And
that's tough because now you've got almost like a he said, she said. At which one do you believe?
And that's the biggest issue.
And that's the issue right there. So we've got to take a look at police reports and the documentation. Okay. Documentation to follow the timeline and the story and the narrative as carefully as possible, because we've got certain streams of it from different people that we have to make sure that fits. One is the story itself. Two is the police reports, all the officers that were involved. There were about 6 or 7 officers directly involved. One officer in particular whose handgun was involved, allegedly. Who were the witnesses that were involved in the area, at the precinct, in the processing area where Mr. Covington allegedly shot himself.
Now, one thing we haven't heard even being brought up, but we did see a request by her previous lawyer, was body cam. I would definitely like to see the body cam. I don't know. When did they pass the law that all officers had to have body cam? Was that back in 18?
Yeah.
So
yeah, this goes back, I think, for New York, I believe it was 16.
So
2016. So it took about maybe a full year, for all of New York to get covered for body cams, between 15 and 16 for New York. For each state, obviously, depending on their budget and affordability on these body cams, car cams, dashboard, and etc. They started modifying their vehicles way back in 14. So police cars are not black and whites no more. They could show up unmarked and have the lights in the grill now.
right,
You know, you
right,
know what I mean?
and
So no big word that says, state of New York trooper or state of New York police or New York police or anything
you
has to show up on these cars. So they're driving unmarked cars too.
you ever wonder? And this is thing about this case as a
Using
whole.
stealth tactics. That's what I call it. They're using more stealth tactics, not to be identified, than to be identified as police officers. It's crazy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let's think about this as a whole. And we talk about this a lot as far as cases who have national attention and those that don't. You would think that this case, like something like this, that where a man actually killed himself or supposedly killed himself in a police precinct, it seemed like this case was swept under the rug. Now you can find some articles about it from 2018, but just think about how many people in this chat that never heard about this until we brought this out. That makes you think that was done purposely. You know what I'm saying? Because what, 6 months, I want to say, after that article that you read, it could have been shorter, after they supposedly passed this new rule, which of course me and you agree, I think that's something they already had intact, but they making it seem like they didn't. A former police officer got arrested on DUI charges, and he killed himself in a precinct. It wasn't in that particular precinct, but it was in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? Guess what? I bet you a lot of people didn't hear about that either.
Right.
So if you think about it, with what Miss Naisha is going through, the runaround she's getting, the deception that she's receiving from people who's supposed to be helping her. Now, don't this all add up to you as a cover up? To me, it
Oh,
does.
yes, it does. I would definitely agree with you on that.
Because
Because when they go bad and something goes wrong, they have this thing called CYA.
cover your ass.
I mean, it's pervasive. They tell you on the job, any job. You could work in a supermarket, you can work in a dental office, you can work in housing, you can work anywhere. Whatever you do, if you make a mistake, cover your ass.
Absolutely.
And so the police do the same thing too. It's just that they have the tools and technology to do such things when these things do occur.
Now, another thing I just want to point out that Ms. Naisha brought to my attention as well, that they kept saying, "Oh, you don't want to see this footage. It's too gruesome. Oh, you don't want to see it. You don't. How the fuck you gonna tell me what I want to see? I want to know what happened to my husband." You know what I'm saying? So with them just putting that in her head and try to brush it off, no, you didn't want her to see that damn footage. For what reason? And
Right.
and I know Miss Naisha, she probably mad at herself for not watching it, but I understand why. And I'm not gonna go in details about that. But at the same time, that lawyer should still have that footage. We should be able to see this footage. Miss Naisha should have this footage right
Yes.
now.
Right
There's
now.
no fucking doubt about it.
Yeah. Right now.
But she don't. And that's the problem. So we working on a FOIA request, and we're gonna talk about that a little later. I don't want to move too fast. Go ahead, John.
Okay. And so this is what Miss Naisha is going through. And we haven't really scratched the surface of this case yet, because like I said, we got some hard turns to make on this. But according to what we are covering and discovering right now, this is a hard one to really take because, as Mr. Bossblake and I, along with several others of our team, are beginning to network together and collaborate together on the information because it's so broad and just so deep.
Chloe asked a great question. I cannot remember the answer that Miss Naisha gave. Miss Naisha, if you're still in the chat, did they consider this a closed case? Because that really would play an important part of what is going to happen or what we can get done and the avenues we're going to have to take if it is closed.
Here we have Chloe Olvera in the chat room.
Yep.
Content creator. Okay, cool. Welcome, Miss Chloe. Because if there's anybody that I know, along with Mr. Bossblake, in regards to FOIA request, Miss Chloe does know a lot
Yes, she
about
does.
how a FOIA request works.
All right.
And what information should be included in a FOIA request, how long a FOIA request should take, and what should come back as a return from having a FOIA requested, especially based on a case like this. Um, Going back to the Kanika Jenkins case, Miss Chloe, along with I think Mr. Jackie Dragon and another couple of other content creators, did fill out a FOIA request for that particular case's information. We were able to get it. You know, the hard drive, police reports, documentation, witness statements, I mean, you name it. I mean, everything came out through there. At first, and it was funny too, now that you mention it, and it's something that we'll keep our eyes open for. The first time that you request these things, everything was clear. You can read every word. As time went on in the Kanika Jenkins case, and I think more or less the second year, it started going into the third year. Um, Whenever you did request any information, such as police reports, witness statements, etc., anything in written form, all of a sudden redactions of names, redactions of obviously dates of birth, social security numbers, so that's typical redaction, but a whole lot more began to become more and more redacted, and it gave you the heavy appearance of deception, cover up, everything. And for Miss Teresa Martin, even today, still having a civil open case on her daughter's death at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois, to go through what Miss Naisha is going through with little or no information. Nobody's doing anything. No one cares. No one seems to want to step forward. No one seems to want to release the information regarding how my husband died for real, and more or less give me video surveillance footage as to the manner in which his death occurred, other than what they offered: autopsy, toxicology, police reports, officer statements, and the whole narrative in a kit and caboodle. And that's what makes it hard, because there's still no answers. If we could see how these things occurred and then match it up to everything in terms of the reports to see the congruency, how they connect, and if there are any holes in it. And by holding back any body cams, station video recordings, because they did record it on their system, why doesn't Miss Naisha have this information already? She should have been had it. And according to Double Rainbows, it says that she had Googled it, and it says it's still under investigation.
That tells you that the case isn't closed, correct?
Correct. And not unless she received a document from obviously Hillside Police along with Union Police stating that both these two agencies have closed this case, because we had two separate independent police departments involved in this case. And I believe that the Union Police Department initiated all of this to happen, while the secondary police department, Hillside, got involved on the tail end, where the car had crashed, whose car did Mr. Covington hit, who is the person who he tried to carjack, where's their statement, were they interviewed, were they cleared, and where the car eventually ended up. Let me see if I can pull up some other stuff here pertaining to the BMW. But it's a beautiful couple here, Naisha and Jermaine. And she was just coming back from the Dominican Republic, waiting at the airport for her husband to come pick her up, only to find out that he was already dead.
Oh.
Okay. All right, Chloe. So if it's an open case, they will reject many details of the Oprah, which means that they'll redact a lot of the information from it, since the public is requesting it, just like they did the Kanika Jenkins case as it started to unfold after Kanika's death. You see, I can go to the next. Okay, so we can go there, we can go there, we can go there. So, okay. So let's go here. Municipal. So y'all can see it. Let me know when you can see it. I think you can see it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we have a 4 to 5 minute, 1.4 miles from the area in which Mr. Covington was arrested on Leo Street. And the direct route to the police department, well, the Hillside Township. It's in a municipal building. It's shared by other offices, public offices. As we came over to Leo Street here, which is a residential neighborhood, highly residential. Let me see where we were before. Yes. So we came down here. Let me drop my little guy down there so we can take a street view of Leo Street, where he was picked up and arrested. That's Leo. No, I got to go this way. Nope, I got to go this way. It states that he came down this street and he tried to kick open a door to one of the buildings. And the building, to one of the doors, I believe this is it, is located here. And hence we have a dead-end street here. While police were pursuing him on foot, and were able to capture him in the back of this building here, possibly in a yard back here, and he couldn't get out, or if this was like a dead end, period. All this is fenced in, gated in, and then they brought him out and then took him from this location off Leo Street traveled down 22 and took him here to this building. Police department. Here. In this area that shares other municipalities, waterworks, is let's see what else is here real quick. There's building inspectors, tax assessor's office. So this is a municipality. People pay their light bill here and things of that nature. So they bring him here and take him into processing. See if I can get close enough to it. There we go. And come through this area here. Right here is a patrol car. So as you can see, it's predominantly a very small parking lot, give or take. Not a lot of traffic on a quiet street in a residential neighborhood. But this is where they brought him. This was on June 22nd of 2018. So now that we have a location and we're digging out some additional information as to other locations, there's a Lay Street or Lay Avenue that's also involved there. We're kind of tightening up information pertaining to that, along with gun safety now. You know, these officers are supposed to automatically already have gun safety holsters and, of course, have a policy when having a weapon inside the precinct, especially around detainees or arrestees, as they call them. So here, let me see if I could share this with you real quick, how I have this shared. And take a look at what they should have had. And this just to give you a little example of what they should have had. And this is a model 6360 ALS SLS duty holster. Let's take a look at the information as to how this equipment works and should have worked. And with the policy changes that we talked about earlier in the live, those policies didn't exist at the time. But 11 days after Covington's death, all of a sudden now this is a requirement. So the holster
Model 6360
mechanism
incorporates
has a
the
lock.
patented Safariland self-locking system, also referred to as a hood. It also incorporates the hood guard that prevents anyone or anything from accidentally chopping and opening the SLS. But new for this year is the automatic locking system that's internal, locking the gun on the ejection port. Even with the hood in the open position, the gun will not come out from any direction. It is firmly locked in place. To operate the automatic locking system, or ALS, we're going to place our thumb on the operating lever alongside the slide, moving it to the rear slightly and lifting the pistol out of the holster. When we reholster the gun, thumb is over the back of the slide, fingers off the trigger. We simply push the gun straight back into the holster and it will lock itself automatically. Then we bring the SLS up and lock it in place as well.
Okay, so here you have that kind of equipment having a double security locking system on-hand service weapons.
I'm wearing the Safariland Model 6360 ALS holster.
Can you hear me, Mr. Boss?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here you have a piece of equipment that they should have had, predominantly, as just a matter of policy, which they didn't. If this has allegedly been what was supposed to have occurred. So that officer, to me, broke safety protocol by having his sidearm on him in that processing area at the precinct, number one, because these officers are trained for safety, period.
When it just seems like when you just think about it. Let's say, for instance, that it wasn't a policy where they couldn't walk with their gun in that area. You walk right here in front of this guy. Now, this guy has been screaming that supposedly he wants y'all to kill him. To me, it was just like, here you go, grab my gun, have at it. Like, that's not being a responsible officer. You walking near, I guess, criminals in an area with your gun exposed where they can just grab it. Who would do something like that in the first place? You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
I know it might be reaching to say, he just did it for him to grab it, but you supposed to, everybody's supposed to be safe around you. What if that guy would have pulled your gun and shot the guy that was sitting next to him?
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what would have happened. There'd have been two people dead because they would have shot him too for shooting this man.
Exactly.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
So they got to be held responsible for this, bro.
Yeah. Because if it compromises, think about it. It compromises your personal safety by having the weapon, number one. Also, with an alleged event like this happening, anyone else around in the room, it also compromises their safety.
Absolutely.
All because of a particular police protocol that they followed, which puts them in a very unsafe environment up until they changed the policy 11 days later. Hence, they have to be culpable.
Have to be.
That's negligence on their part. So we're already starting to see signs of possible negligence on their part, only to change the policy 11 days later. Oh, why didn't you have the policy in place anyway?
Exactly.
Now you're concerned that your officers' weapons are going to be taken by detainees? Yeah, just go to the Hillside Police Department with any arrestee and they can pull officers' guns out and blow their own brains out, right? Not anybody else's, to try to get out of the building, to try to avoid arrest, to escape, like he was trying to do when they were chasing him. But no, I'm going to blow my brains out. Only because my right hand is handcuffed to this bar in this police precinct, and I'm sitting on a wooden bench that's bolted down to the floor, and I'm going to use a very limited amount of my arm use, which is my left arm and hand that was injured years ago along with my hip, and I'm going to take this officer's gun out of his holster and be able to pull the trigger on myself.
Sounds very suspicious to me.
Yes, exactly. So right away we have a problem of negligence. Here's the other thing I have a problem with too. I think we definitely attacked a piece of timeline which drew more questions. Now, in the beginning, when we read the article, what time did this incident occur in the chat room? I want to put that out there. What time do you remember this incident happening in the chat room? Put the time in there. Let's see if you've been following us.
We got a couple on that was on my live, so I think we should be getting the answer real soon.
Nosy Bug comes in the house. RJ said, I know, but I'm not answering. 4:46 p.m.
Yes.
However, we have a text transmission on Messenger between Miss Naisha and Jermaine. And with the redaction up above in this text message, take a look at the text transmissions going back and forth between the two of them and get down to the last one. What time do we see? Can you all see that? If the incident happened at 4:46 p.m., why is Naisha getting a return text message at 5:01? Why is she getting a return text message? Naisha, please let me know you okay at 5:01.
Now remember, if you was a part of my live, he don't call her Naisha. That's his wife. He don't ever call her by her government name like that.
See, so now we are looking at a piece of the timeline, which is another huge red flag. There are many of them. We're going to just be able to share with you a number of them that we've covered with Mr. Boss Blake on his channel, just to continue to expose this information. Seeing it once is one thing. Seeing it again and again and again and how things tie together in congruent connection to the other begins to make more and more sense. Hence, we have a red flag on this. And this is a phone transmission. And when Mr. Boss Blake brought this to my attention, let me tell you, I said, oh man, this is bad.
Very.
Do we have police reports, Mr.? Yes, we do. Do we have the autopsy, Mr. Blake? Yes, we do.
Yep.
We got the toxicology? Yes, we do. Got witness stuff? Yes, we do, John. You let me know what you need, and bingo, I can get it right over to you. Do we have any photographs, Mr. Bossman? Yes, we do. These photographs we cannot show you, unfortunately, because these are the photographs that Miss Naisha took at the funeral home. She was able to get, which displays full contradiction of what the police report, of what the autopsy report states. When it comes to external injury, I was able to lay my eyes on the autopsy report this afternoon with Mr. Bossman, and we were able to identify hot points real quick. Nothing was said about that gaping. There is an injury external to the middle of his head at the top of the bridge of the nose that stems all the way across the head, over the eyebrow, past the eyebrow to the side of the face, where there is no skin tissue there.
Yep.
Major red flag.
They said there was no bruises on his face.
Correct.
So, so far, what John has presented, what I presented, nothing has been done. They haven't closed the case. it's obvious it's the reason why they can't close it. Because just think about it. Anybody who followed the Kanika Jenkins case, they closed that case pretty goddamn fast. This case has been alive for 4 years. And I don't know if you touched on about the body and her not getting it, but she still don't have a body of a husband.
Of her husband, yeah.
4 years. 4 years, and she still don't have a body. That's the problem. You
That's
can't
huge.
close no case. You can't close no case until this woman has her husband. You can't. So why are they prolonging her getting the body of her husband? Now, they did have intentions on cremating him, but they needed to preserve his body for future testing, like maybe gun residue on his hand. Because the case is not closed. She's still looking for answers. So it's not time to cremate nobody when this case is not closed, because you still may need to get evidence off of his body. But why can't she see it? Why can't her lawyer see it? That's the problem.
Exactly. Exactly. So what are you hiding? What are you covering up? Why can't we see the body? Because there's an ongoing investigation. You're not able to release that information to the direct family member, which it involves his wife.
Nosy
You
boy.
can't tell her how he died. Wait a minute. Whoa. Let's back up a minute. Whoa. What is that about? You won't let her attorney see his body to verify, yeah, that's him? What is that about? Why did she have to go to the funeral home to absolutely check to see if this was her husband, number one, yet the condition that this man was found in?
Nosy Bug, that's a great question. That's a great question. Is there a body?
Ah, we were talking about that behind the scenes this
Yes,
afternoon.
we were.
Yeah, that is the question.
Tanya, did he kill himself? We haven't seen the footage. So that's a question we can't answer. We can only go by what reports say. But I ain't going by it till I see it for myself.
This is the police officer whose weapon allegedly was taken from him by Mr. Covington, who was checking him in the processing area during the time of booking. One of 6 police officers who arrested Mr. Covington on Leo Street, trying to break through or down a door which he couldn't get through. Brought him back to the police precinct for processing, and here he is. There was an internal affairs investigation. We'll be able to get into more of that as we begin to break down this case in parts. We're doing a series on this case because it's so much information, and we're not going to sit up here for 10 hours to do a long live and do that, and it would be a disservice to everyone, because no one would watch the video to understand why John Q and Mr. Bossman Blake got on there for 10 hours to talk about one case like that, and have everybody remember to follow it.
Yeah, you'll never see me do that. I promise you that. 10 hours? No, I can't do that, Pepe.
No. This ain't the marathon, you know what I mean?
No.
So yes, this is the police officer that was directly involved regarding the safety of his weapon. He should be held accountable for violating that safety. And that's a violation not only against himself, but other officers who were in that area that was present, along with another arrestee that was in that same location when allegedly Mr. Covington shot himself.
Nah, Chloe, his name is actually Jermaine.
So what I'm going to do is drop the link. We're just starting to warm up
Got somebody say they miss Q too.
See if I can get it here. And Chloe, if you want to come up, that's fine. RJ, if you want to come up. Hello to Cole Pepsi, Evelyn Jefferson. Where the Wind Blows. Elizabeth Lander is in the house as well.
She said she missed Q too.
She missed Q too. Yeah, I missed Q too. But I've been extraordinarily busy. Oh my goodness, it just hasn't stopped. But it's starting to slow down. Things are starting to taper off. I'll be able to get back to that and do table talk and Q square with Miss Q, and get us back in running condition here. But we have Mr. RJ to join us.
Hello. How's everybody tonight?
What's going on, RJ?
Boss man, how you doing?
I'm all right, my brother.
Good to hear. I thank you very much for sending me this information that you have sent me, and Miss Nisha. My heart breaks. This is a tragedy that should have never happened.
Most definitely.
I agree 1,000%. That's why we're looking at it. To see what our public service officials are doing. Are they truly doing their jobs to the best of their ability and with the constitutional oath that they all took to protect and serve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Now, I mean, are they really out there doing that for us, or we as, civilians, concerned community, neighbors, tenants, loved ones, you name it, whatever you want to call it? We have to get a case like this, look at it and say, well, man, this is bad. This is bad news.
I'm speechless, honestly. This is just that bad.
Very bad.
You have a man in handcuffs who would have been tied or tethered to in some fashion, whether it be by a chain or whatever the handcuff situation may have been, to a bar that would have been attached to a cinder block wall and sitting on a bench in front of that in some fashion or other.
All right.
And the officer has a desire or protocol is not that what most police stations were already at that point by 2019.
Right.
That the officer doesn't need his weapon at that point. It should be locked up and secured because there's just no need for him to have a weapon on him in the police station at that point.
I agree.
But this officer has it on him.
I wonder if any other officers had their gun on them as well.
Good point. Because if one officer did, then you would most rightfully assume that all of them were walking around with their damn guns.
Absolutely.
Double rainbows. We actually do know, Miss Nisha said earlier that after Internal Affairs had spoken with the officers, the case was closed.
Now, one of the other interesting parts of another red flag, this comes directly from the first attorney in reference to how this whole situation had occurred. Let me just share this real quick. This was a document from the attorney. I had it here. And Miss Chloe, I dropped that link for you just to come up briefly, if you can, if you're not tied up, in reference to FOIA requests. If we can get that out, that would be great. Let me find out where I put this. I think this was it. Nope. I think this was it. Yeah. And this is from the first attorney made a request. Please accept my notice of claim filed on behalf of the estate of Jermaine Covington and his wife, and also an underage child. On September 26th of 2018, I visited the prosecutor's office on invitation of Assistant Prosecutor Esmeralda, where he and Lieutenant Blah of the Union County Prosecutor's Office gave me a copy of the attached Hillside Police Department report in response to my previously filed OPRA request. And what does OPRA stand for, Mr. Boss Blake?
That is Open Public Records Act.
Mm-hmm. Which would be equivalent to a FOIA request, and hence the reason I asked Chloe to come up to verify, because New Jersey has the OPRA request and other states have a traditional FOIA request. If there are any distinctions or differences between the two, I'm sure that we could get that cleared up and defined tonight. They also allowed me to see portions of videos. I was not allowed to obtain other information, as Mr. Esmeralda instructed me that until his investigation is over, I would not be able to obtain the balance of my previously requested records. While in the prosecutor's office, I discovered information that the Union Municipal Police were also involved in this matter. See attached investigation report. It appears that either the Hillside Police or the Union Municipal Police rammed Mrs. Covington's car that was being driven by her husband. An Open Public Record Act request is made of both municipalities to save and do not discard and turn over to the undersigned for 6/22/18. So these were requested copies of all records from the police vehicle damage and records indicating how the damage occurred. Complete copies of all videos of either body cams or police vehicles demonstrating all police vehicles chases on June 22nd, 2018. Complete copies of all police dispatch radio recordings, reports, recordings, carjackings, and or police pursuits in both Union Municipality and Hillside. Copies of all records of damage to police vehicles in the month of June 2018 and repair of said vehicles from June 22nd, 2018 to present. Copies of all June 22nd, 2018 and thereafter through present investigation reports, arrest reports, property reports, recordings, videos, statements pertaining to other carjackings, attempted carjacking, stolen vehicles, eluding, unidentified black males, black BMWs, blue BMWs, suspect with weapon or gun in place from January 1st of 2018 to June 22nd of 2018, and in place after January 22nd of 2018. Copies of all police policies in both Union and Hillside pertaining to police. Yes, go ahead.
Is someone in the back?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought I heard that ting go off for somebody being backstage.
Yeah, I did too.
Welcome, Chloe.
Hey, I'm just listening.
Okay. I just wanted to come and get you and grab you up, and I can continue, and then we can talk.
Okay.
All right. So we need copies of all police policies from both Union and Hillside pertaining to police body-worn cameras, dash cams, carrying weapons or not carrying in processing room where prisoners are secured and or processed. Concerning the types of holsters required to contain the weapon. On duty, off duty, when in processing prisoners, when in areas where prisoners are secured or handcuffed. All photos taken of suspects involved in the police chases, attempted carjackings, and looting on June 22nd of 2018. All photos taken of all vehicles involved in the carjacking, a looting accident on June 22nd of 2018. All photos, investigation, reports, names, and addresses with phone numbers of prisoners and police in the processing room of Hillside when the decedent Covington seized the weapon and shot himself. So this is a very lengthy request called an Oprah request, which is spelled out by the first attorney. But I want to get down here because this is the power paragraph of the reason why they're requesting this. It is suspected that the Union Police initiated the pursuit of Mr. Covington and were the cause of Covington's crashing his wife's car. I would be very interested in seeing the dash cam of Union's first view of Mr. Covington and Mrs. Covington's car. It is expected that you will all comply with the Oprah request in a timely fashion or be subjected to a lawsuit, which will have to include the refusal to comply, mandating the law written thereof. This was signed off by the first attorney and requested by the first attorney. So they were able to release some of the reports according to the first news article that we've covered, some. They have not supplied any video surveillance recordings from body cams, police stations, or any of thereof as of yet.
They're finding every single excuse not to.
It led Miss Naisha's attorney to believe that these police officers in pursuit of Mr. Covington on June 22nd of 2018 rammed him off the road. Meanwhile, in the police reports, they flipped it around and said that he hit or tried to run down two officers and crashed into their vehicle. The car eventually ended up crashing into a telephone pole where the chase stopped and the car laid at rest. However, in addition, there have been no photographs of the car at the crash site that we've been able to obtain as of yet. Now, if Ms. Naisha does have those photos, we'd like to take a look at them to see how the car ended up. We do have photographs Mr. Bossman sent me. Pull that up. I would like to share of the car so that we would be able to see exactly what they were able to share. Let me know when you can see that. And thank you so much for your time joining the panel, RJ, and Chloe.
Absolutely. And we are seeing it.
Okay. So here we have a blue BMW appearing to be black. One of the photos of the front damage done to the driver's side bumper here. And other photos I have, we'll get to see exactly what kind of severe damage was done to the vehicle. And for the back, this is an automatic door opener, car starter. And here we have our first look at front end wheel damage. Now, this wheel, according to the angle that it's at, as you see it, RJ, and Miss Chloe and Boss, that wheel looks so far turned in toward the engine. This is a broken front axle, if I'm not
Yes, it's a
mistaken.
broken axle. Yes. Correct.
Right, absolutely. So my question, follow up on that one is that you said that this was a vehicle that was collided with a utility pole, correct?
Yes.
Does anybody have, and Miss Nisha, if you know this, if you're still in the chat, please let us know. Was there any report on where the impact happened? Was it front, side?
I was even looking in here as best as possible. According to how this vehicle is sitting here, and a BMW would have this as a safety feature, driver's side airbag, both
Airbags,
driver's side, passenger, possibly even rear. But it was very,
I,
as you can see it as best you can, I don't see any deployment.
I'm playing catch up. So am I understanding correctly? The car slid into the telephone pole, and that's what they're saying that this damage is from?
Yes.
That's why I was asking if Miss Nisha was here, if she had any idea of where the impact happened, because to me it does not look consistent.
Yeah, no, yes, and because I worked in body parts for many years, as far as for cars and stuff, selling them when people did wreck and stuff, so we knew what they had to replace and stuff. And yes, the axle being broken would be from something like that, but the body damage on the fender and the doors look like they slid on something, against something. But for it to actually have the impact of the telephone pole itself, I mean, looking at it from that picture right there, unless he was driving in reverse in donuts and just happened to hit right there, and the pole itself only hit the wheel, because the pole itself would have done more damage on the fender there.
Yes, I agree.
The front quarter panel there. So that's just my opinion. So,
John, is there any views?
I'm not certified anymore.
Is there any views of rear quarter panels? Where is this one?
I'm trying to. This is still on now. This is the right side.
The passenger side, correct?
Passenger side, correct. Where the gate is. As we complete the viewing assessment of this, I have no idea.
It was like a chocolate.
This is a 4-door.
Yeah, this is a 4-door.
It's crazy.
Why is there white streaks on the right side of the vehicle?
I think he was sandwiched by two cars.
Either that, or is it possible they did a pit maneuver, and the white paint peel is scraped off?
That's when they forced them to stop, correct? Where they put their cars and smash them together, type.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
But see, in the police report, they don't make it seem like they had anything to do with his accident when they had everything to do with it.
Right.
I would, if it's possible, I would try to speak to the wife and find out what possibly any scratches or damage done prior to this incident, so that way y'all can verify it and eliminate.
Wasn't there?
Yeah, because we don't know if the scratches were there or not. I would say to me, they look fresh. They look new, not like it's old.
It wasn't there. Yeah, she already verified that those scratches was not there.
Okay.
Now this is with the wheel completely off of the front
like
driver's side wheel.
Yeah, with motor mounts.
Yeah. Yep. And this is with it on. This is
you
left
know-
side damage to the front bumper, wheel, tie, and axle. All on this. We've got abrasive damage here on the left behind the wheel, closer to the door on that angle. And I'm trying to see now, and I'm beginning to, if I could find the gate, and this is where the flowers are. We also have some front right damage. Oh, please tell me where that gate is. To the front of the car on the other side. Let me see if I can get a better shot.
I just don't see how both of those tires are like that if he just hit a light pole.
Yeah. There's the gate. And so this is the orientation that these pictures were taken from in this position. However, there's a parking lot past this gate, and this car is near this gate. And I'm saying, let me go back. John, why is this car parked near this gate? Is this not the crash site? Answer, no. It isn't.
That's where they towed it off to then, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I was going to ask who that one picture with the wheel assembly, who you said was disassembled. Well, who did that? Unless they had to do it to strap it and pull it up.
Yeah,
That's
that looks like an
impossible.
impound lot.
Yeah, that's what I was telling John. Yep.
All those
Yeah.
vehicles like that close together, yes.
Yep. I'm trying to see if I can find Chloe's picture.
And anything that
There it
would have
is.
fallen off when they're attempting to tow it, they would have just thrown it right there next to the vehicle. Yeah,
Yeah.
they got it
So,
there.
all right. So going back to RJ's pit maneuver, police officers utilize a pit maneuver to try to slow down or neutralize a vehicle from going any further. And what they usually do is line up the front end of the patrol car to the back end rear area of the car where the signal lights are, and about this position here and no further, and try to push that car in the opposite direction, causing the driver to actually move at an angle that would cause him to stop or slow down from a straight line. So I don't see any kind of,
Or possibly flip over.
yeah, or possibly flip over depending on speed. Yeah.
Right, and that was the question I was asking. It's possible it was a pit maneuver type of situation. However, with it not seeing the quarter panel, it had to be a question of where was this white paint transfer at? Where was the?
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Where was the white paint transfer at on the body of the vehicle? And Miss Nisha is answering questions that we're asking about that in the chat, saying that the police came at the vehicle with their vehicles on both the left and the right side.
Okay, so now that would make sense.
Because
That
it's
would
got
make-
scratches on both sides. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't look like they hit it hard enough to make the actual body damage like you would think a dent type thing. It's just a scraping, but that alone can be
Sideswipe.
intimidating. Yeah, it's intimidating enough when you're driving and you have two vehicles on each side and they're both touching you. It can cause your steering column can start spinning.
Mm-hmm. So here we have the right side again. We've got abrasive marks on the back door panel here. I don't know if the left or right tires are flat. Usually, if you do a pit maneuver, it does take the rubber. It puts rubber damage on the rim enough to deflate the tires. They usually end up flat, but there's a lot of side damage here.
So the police, Miss Nisha is saying right now that the impact was hard enough to cause some a lot of damage that was there. The doors and trunk were not able to be opened.
Uh-huh.
So there was enough damage where there was alignment issues happen, or body frame type damage happen that contorted it so things could not open like they should.
Okay. So these are just a few pictures that we were able to begin analyzing, which is not at the crash site. So we're wondering where those photographs are, if they came with the Oprah request. So I asked Chloe to join us this afternoon in reference to her early experience in working with the Kanika Jenkins case and filling out a FOIA request. And if you could briefly take a moment, Chloe, and walk us through what you were able to do, what you requested, what should have been, what was in that FOIA request pertaining to the Kanika Jenkins case. How long did it take to process, and what did we receive based upon that request in a timely fashion? If you can walk us through it.
Okay, you're talking about on the Kanika case?
Yeah, because that's where I know, from case experience, you and Mr. Jackie Dragon was actually working on a FOIA request for the Kanika Jenkins.
It was him and Amp Easy. They went ahead, they did it, and what they requested was
That's right, Amp Easy. I'm sorry,
the extra medical examiner's photographs that were not included in the case file. Now I can tell you that I've gone back on my own now and did my own FOIA request, and this time I did not go through the third-party website to assist me. I just did it straight on my own. Okay. And because my purpose, even though I had downloaded the whole case file when it was released, my purpose was because of, if you got it through the FOIA and they sent you that actual hard drive, on the hard drive itself, it had the time stamps of when they actually collected the each individual clip of the footage, because it's always something that sat in my mind, that why did they collect it in this order type of thing. Now, again, it didn't have all the other things that individuals have requested that I've collected myself, like on the date of the 7th. That's still not in the case file, but I was able to collect a copy of it through another person who did a FOIA, and they got it, that type of thing. Now, okay. What I looked up with this case, I've only had about an hour or so really to be researching, because I'm not familiar with this case at all, and I sent Boss a copy of the PDF document, which is like, I don't know, 7-8 pages. I forgot how many pages, but I went through it real quick and I highlighted. The document is listing what is exempt from being able to request things. So I highlight, and that's why I was asking a couple of questions in the chat, like, if the case was open or closed, things like that, because that does still make a difference. Now, right. I did see a court document that said something about where they actually listed his death as a suicide. So for them to do that, that tells me that the case is closed. So if the case is closed, then we can eliminate them using that as an excuse to not give you certain documents or whatnot. Now, on the documents that I forwarded to Boss, I never saw anything on there pertaining to not being able to hand over body cam footage or dash cam footage or anything like that. There was nothing to that effect on there. So I would have to research some more to find out in that department, do they have anything, any special clauses to why they can't give it out? The closest thing that, listening to you while I was looking up the stuff, listening to what you were reading off, the closest thing that I can say that I did see that they could possibly, if they were trying to hide something, would be using as the excuse would be the whatever footage, because was there any incidents that took place within the police station itself? That's where everything supposedly took place, correct?
Yes. The
Okay.
shooting, actually.
Right.
Okay, so whatever took place in there, if they want to hide something, they can use there is a clause that says something about they can't give out footage if it's going to endanger their safety and security by, in other words, like now you know the layout of the inside of the jail or something, something like that, to where now you can people can learn how to break in and help people escape, that type of thing, but I mean that would be pretty far-fetched as because where they have cameras set up a lot of times, it's not like it's a revolving camera where it's like, oscillating back and forth or nothing. It's only fixated on that one spot. So if there is a camera where the incident took place that would have recorded what took place, they should not be able to reject the request for it, because it's not going to show any other parts of the inside of that police station that they can claim any kind of security breach or anything like that. That was the closest thing I could find of theirs. And every county does have their own particular little rules that they are allowed to make up by law within reason. And so that's why I was asking earlier exactly which city it was and all that, so that way I could go straight to them. And of course, like you said, theirs is called an Open Public Records Act versus the Freedom of Information Act. So, and I didn't know that the first 30 minutes I'm like, I don't know what that Oprah thing is, but until I finally clicked on it.
New Jersey loves to play its own little mind game with terms and wording of things. They've done it forever and a day. Just to give you an example, if you're born in New Jersey, you do not get a birth certificate like you do in most states. Your supposed birth certificate is a list of vital statistics.
Yes.
And some states will not accept that as a birth certificate. It's a fight to accept that, get them to accept that as a birth certificate.
I know a lot of states changed theirs as the years have progressed, because when we were born, you got the title of your baby when your baby brought home. That was your birth certificate, and I would jokingly say that's the title to the kid, like a title to a vehicle. Nowadays, when we had babies, we had to wait X amount of weeks. We had to order it, and then it came in like a couple of months later, and but opposite on the Social Security. Now the Social Security is given out at birth, whereas before it used to be like 15, 16 when we got our Social Security. So yeah, everybody, that's why I say it's best, no matter what you're looking into, go directly to the ordinances and the laws of that county of what it is that you are looking up, because you never know what rules they have. And if they're entitled to have those rules, we just may not be aware of it,
Right.
There's a lot that Boss Blake and John both has referred to me with the playing devil's advocate a lot, and it's not so much trying to how do you say it, clear one side or the other. It's more like just get everything out of the way that we don't have to look at. So if there is a law that says we can't give you the body cam footage, well then let's not waste our time keep asking for the body cam footage. That type of thing is what I'm referring to. So that's why I was asking some of the questions that I was asking. But I don't understand why she hasn't gotten what she's requested. So I mean, just a little bit that I've looked at it, I'm not coming up with any reasons why her attorney should not have been able to obtain those things. And I'm going to
or even why the attorney was denied by the funeral home to view the body.
That's very unusual.
That right there, to me, and Mr. Bossman and I had a discussion about that, and it's like, okay, he's representing the family on a legal term, so he should legally be able to see that body at the funeral home.
Well, they have the rights no matter what, because even if there's an open case as far as like a civil suit or anything, they still, that would be part of the evidentiary packet or whatever. But I did
Right.
read somewhere that it said also, unless there's an open criminal case or an open civil case, and but with him being listed as a suicide, there should be no criminal case open anyway, because the cops are saying, oh, he did it to
Right. They're
himself.
more civil
So
than
now with the
criminal,
civil,
not
I
unless
don't know.
it comes out. Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not being not familiar with anything. Um, I'm sure that's there's something that I just pulled up and I haven't even had a chance to look at it. It appears that the family, the wife may be doing something civilly. And like I said, I just now pulled it up on the screen, but I had not had a chance to actually read anything on there. I just saw a bunch
Okay.
of people's names. So I don't know. If that's the case, she and her attorney would still have rights to view whatever, anything that has to do with anything, even though there may be a civil suit in place.
See, the
Her
thing
and her
is,
lawyer.
yeah, they
Yes.
only provided her documents when it was requested from her original attorney. They haven't given her no electronics as far as video footage, and I'm confused about that. You know what I'm saying? They have the footage inside of the precinct, and then they gotta have footage from the body cams. That's all of that was requested originally. So
Okay,
it doesn't
well,
make sense why she didn't get all of that.
when you are rejected or denied is what it's called, but when you're turned down for when you're requesting anything, no matter who you are, they have to give you the reason why you're denied. And then you have this, of course, you have your appeals length of time that you can do an appeal on it. But for whatever reason that they are denying it, they have to give that reason why. In the Kanika case, it was the pictures from the medical examiner that we were not able to obtain was obviously because of the graphic nature of it, as far as her not being with any clothes on and they got her cut open type thing. Of course, they're not going to give us those photographs. However, if her mother requested it, I don't see any legal grounds that they would be able to deny her to have it. So it would be the same case here, especially because she is the wife. And the attorney, no matter who the attorney is, they should know these things because we didn't go to college for this stuff. So if we know some of this stuff, surely they know it.
Yeah, she requested it through her new attorney, and all they did was send the same thing that she already got, documents. So
Well,
I
I
don't
would
know.
try to find out what the stuff that was not received, find out what their reasoning for the denial on those items were, and then go from there.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
most definitely.
It only makes sense to go from there, and only based on the information that she's already able to receive through her attorney. Now, what's pending? We don't know if there's going to be another release of anything. As far as we know right now, everything is quiet, and Miss Naisha is still looking for guidance. She's looking for help. She's looking for assistance on this case because as far from what we've pointed out so far, we've talked about public safety of the police department. We talked about the safety violations of weapons being in an area that they have never should have been in the first place, but 11 days later, then change policy after Mr. Covington's death. So hence, there is a provable area of negligence there. An officer's weapon was taken from him by an arrestee, allegedly, only to be used against himself, which caused his death. On the death certificate, it stated, the medical examiner's report, based on the glean that I had this afternoon, was based on suicide. When we take a look at the autopsy report, one of the things that I did notice that wasn't there was the alleged gunpowder residue from the service weapon that the officer had listed in any way, shape, or form on that autopsy to confirm, yes, his hand was in essence, what is the word I'm looking for? Holding a weapon, discharging a weapon, gunpowder residue has reflected on the backhand all the way up to the forearm. Now, if you're holding a gun to the side of your head at close range, pinning it to your head, you're not only going to have gunshot residue on the hand, you're also going to have that firing residue all over the side of the face, neck, and shoulders because of such a close impact.
I think they mentioned something in the documents about it being on his head by his temple, but I have to go back and double check.
Yeah, it's a huge document to try to get through, and it's just based on the information I've been able to glean and not really study enough to make a full determination and assessment on that. But we're looking for specific telltale signs of their narrative being true and untrue. And this is the second part of a multi-part live that we're doing on this case because it's so much. And this case deserves to be exposed because we have to continue to be vigilant on our public safety officials, police officers, law enforcement, our courts, everything, because we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot in the George Floyd case. We're seeing a lot unfold in the Texas Uvalde case, the massive school shooting that Mr. Boss Blake and I and RJ had discussed on a previous live, as well as the Buffalo, New York shooting at the Tops Food Market store. How police respond, why they don't respond, especially in Texas, where you see them running all over the street fully in full body armor, yet they could not breach a classroom for 77 minutes when they could have gone through that door. There are 2 doors to each of those classrooms and 2 side windows, and yet they still could not breach that school area for 77 minutes, waiting for someone to give them the green light because they didn't have shields. I have to call bullshit.
There was an update that just came out yesterday about Uvalde as well.
Okay.
And it pertains to the weapon that the gunman had used.
All right. I think there was an AR-15 and a handgun, right?
The AR-15 had a bump stock.
This was what is it? XM AR-15 Bushmaster?
Uvalde?
Yeah.
No, I don't. That was Tops, wasn't it?
Yeah, because a lot of the AR-15s that have been marketed and distributed like crazy is coming from the Daniels Defense Corporation.
This had a one of the many kits that you could buy, depending on what state you live in, whether it's legal or not. But this particular Texas, they're I'm going to guess. Please understand this is just a guess at this point. I've not looked deeply into it. I just happen to have seen that there was an update and more information released on the weapon, and that it had what's called a bump stock.
Okay, so it's a weapon that could be modified, like the Buffalo, New York situation.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and allowing 18-year-olds to walk off with military-grade weapons. There's a hole there. There's a hole in this case, too. Whereas a weapon was allegedly taken by an arrestee from a police officer in a processing unit inside of a secure building. This is where they're taking their prisoners. And yet, had allowed in some way, shape, or form a death to occur due to the negligence of an officer having his weapon in an area he should have never had it to begin with. That's my point so far on this case concerning the death of Mr. Covington. And it's a hard line they can't walk away from any kind of culpability because they changed the damn policy 11 days later.
I heard y'all saying that. Now, is that the policy when it was changed? I'm not into the politics a lot, but so I'm just guessing. Was that done at a time when other ordinances and stuff were all being voted upon or something? Or was this something just specifically alone that got changed all of a sudden on the books?
This was something of a policy that was made and determined by the prosecutor's office 11 days after this man died.
And it had not been discussed or about it or nothing like that prior to that?
No.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at.
And you look at it at face value from the documents. I don't know if Boss had sent you the 229-page document package that has a lot of the narrative and police officers involved, the weapon that was used.
No, because honestly, y'all saying that about the weapons not being allowed to be brought into the facility, that's unusual for me to hear about, because where I was at in Texas, in the county they could bring their weapons in. It was in the penitentiaries that they were not allowed to bring their weapons in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. I guess again it goes county by county, different things.
Right. Well, in this situation,
but in this situation, either way, even though it was not a rule or law at the point, it's still on their possession. They're still required to keep other people from being able to obtain their weapon, to whether to hurt themselves or to hurt others.
My point.
So
that's my point.
That as far as the bottom line on it, and it may take a while to get there, the bottom line on it, she has a case because they were in some fashion negligent.
Yeah.
And unless the only way they could come up with the way that they weren't was if the man had like other people helping him to hold one officer down and steal the gun, which is not the case, So other than that, the officer is responsible because that's what their training is for, is to prevent those types of things from happening. And if, just like the law, sometimes people commit involuntary manslaughter, but you still have to be punished, even though that was not your intent to do that. Same thing with an officer. It was not your intent to allow the gun to get taken, but it happened, so you get a punishment as well. But we know that the law don't work like that always.
And then too, in addition to that, after the discharge of that weapon, the position in which Mr. Covington was found, remember, his right hand is handcuffed to a steel bar adjacent to a bench that's bolted down to the floor. When they found this man, one of the officers, Oganowski, as a female officer, was in a different portion of the processing area, heard the shot, walked in, and viewed Mr. Covington in an area on that bench with his head on the floor. So if you can begin to picture a bench, a bar adjacent to it, about maybe a foot and a half higher, handcuffed, right hand, is going to take a formerly injured arm and hand to reach for an officer's weapon, unlatch that weapon from the holster, unlatch the safety to the gun. He has never probably shot before in his life, to take his own life, and then end up with his head on the floor. Where's the rest of his body? Is it on the floor? Is part of it on the bench?
You said the female officer found him?
I'm sorry?
You said a female officer found him?
Yeah, one of the females who responded to it right after the shooting found him in that position.
Where was the male officer that he took the gun from?
Right. The Vetter guy, I don't know, he probably, and this is just my point of view in taking a look at these two officers reacting to this. After the shot was heard, Oganowski entered the area where the shot was. Vetter, the police officer whose weapon was used, if he in any way, shape, or form compromised fingerprints that should have been on that Glock 9, the police officer's weapon, and picked that gun up to get it away from the body after the event had occurred, it's evidence compromission right there. That's another red flag. How was that gun processed?
That's like a 50-50 because they are supposed to take the weapon away even if the person is deceased. They're supposed to get it away from their reach, I guess you could say, but he could have kicked it away. He didn't have to touch it.
He could have kicked it away, and yet when the medical examiner, being the only person to release a crime scene back to its original proprietor, owner,
Yes.
designee, whatever you want to call it, nothing is supposed to be touched.
One of the officers, it was in their statement, said they went and grabbed the gun and put it in lockup.
I remember reading. Thank you, Boss Blake. Thank you for saying that.
No problem.
This is where I start to have tons and tons of questions, to be honest.
So it was a quick draw evidence collection and to lock it up. Okay.
And now you're going to take evidence that was just in a crime
Before it even got processed.
before it got processed. Now you're going to secure it in a locker. See, I have a problem.
Yeah, he came and got that immediately because when he heard the gunshot,
Major problem with that.
he came back in, grabbed the gun, and put it in lockup. That's what it said in the statement.
Very boring part of it is I would suggest to go and read their crime scene investigation policy handbook for that county. Yes, I did it for Cook County and it was very boring, but I learned a lot of things that we thought that they should have been doing or was policy, and I found out so many things we were wrong about with the police. So right there, I'm just, the first thing that pops in my head is that their policy to take the weapon and automatically lock it up when it's a weapon of an authoritative figure versus
It's supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it compromises the chain of evidence in a crime. And Miss Naisha made a statement in the chat room in regards to the cops took the gun out of his hand.
Two different stories. That's two different stories now.
Yeah. See?
Just like one person said he shot himself in the head, and one of the cops said he shot himself in the neck. Two different stories.
Yeah.
Why is it not adding up? It sounds just like the Jenkins case as well.
Right. So
Miss
the more
Naisha-
you dig at this, the more we're starting to find inconsistencies that don't match up.
Miss Naisha, the next thing I'm going to say, I don't mean to be any disrespectful to you or what happened. What the police are saying and what the police have done makes absolutely zero sense to me. There has been, and nothing that they're saying about this, is there any information or a statement from police officers that there was a struggle for the weapon, a fight where he tried to grab the weapon, and the officer would have, no matter if he's restrained or not, been in a tussle fight with him to prevent him from gaining the control of that weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the tip of the iceberg to me.
Right. And they're giving it the allowance. I don't mean to cut you off, RJ. They're giving it the allowance without having a struggle. He took it plain and clear with no restrictions and decided to make a decision, not to shoot the officer or threaten the officers or shoot the handcuff off of his wrist and try to get out of the building, hence self-preservation. But he decided to use the gun against himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Go ahead, RJ. Go ahead.
My apologies, boss man. I'll quick question and I'll be quiet. That's also my question. Is why, if you're going to go ahead and hold a weapon to your head, the natural place of when you raise your arm is above the ear in the temple area. Why is the wound, being polite by saying wound, not there? It's in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm. So we lost Chloe there. If you have to leave, Chloe, I totally understand. I appreciate and thank you so much for joining today's special live panel on Jermaine Covington, Mysterious Death, which happened on June 22nd of 2018. We have the wife of Miss Covington, Mr. Covington, here in the chat, and we will get to a live point. It could be on my channel or Mr. Boss Blake's channel to actually hear from Miss Naisha directly in a lot of the areas that we're digging into, perhaps to fine tune some of the areas that we've been able to cover, answer some questions to the best of her ability, and share with you in light her whole story as to how this unfolded, as well as who Jermaine was, the kind of guy he was. She basically made a statement to say, hey, the man was always working. He was always being constructive. We started a different life together, and here are some of the things that he enjoyed, especially when he was with his son. Whether it was basketball, whether it was video games, whether it was going out to the park, or just doing the everyday things that people enjoy doing together as a family. And so we have a lot in store. I didn't want to make this live a long one. I wanted to hold it at least 2 hours. So we're about running over 30 minutes here, Mr. Bossman. And so we're still digging at it. I'm going to talk to Mr. Boss in regards to an upcoming live. We're going to go back to his channel. So those of you who are with us, please continue to follow this story because it's a real critical factor that's involved. Hopefully we can put together the information that's necessary to give Miss Naisha the proper information she would need to go forward and have this reviewed above the legal authorities that she was already trying to deal with, but didn't want to deal with her. Whether it be the Attorney General office in New Jersey, or the CID in New Jersey, Criminal Investigation Division, to see if there was any kind of criminal aspect to it. But she does have an attorney that is advising her on occasion as to what she can and what she should look forward to.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for allowing me to come up and raise some questions and be a part of this as well.
Yes.
I appreciate always. And Boss Man and I were talking just last night about some things on my channel. I definitely look forward to working with Boss Man and John Q more.
Absolutely.
Not to plug my own channel, but I don't know what you're intending to do going on further. I know you said you were wanting to go no longer than 2 hours. I need to step away. I need to get ready for my live. So
that's good.
I need to get some water to drink, get a quick bite to eat, and get myself set.
Now you
set
sound
up.
like me.
Right. So, like I said, I'm not trying to plug my live, but I want to thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this.
Yes, and if we can double rainbows, if you can find the link to RJ and post it into the chat room. If he's going live in about 30 minutes or so, folks can go over to his channel. I'm going to see if I can get there myself because I do enjoy the topics of discussion that RJ is currently speaking about and presenting very good factual information, whether it be the Buffalo, New York shooting, whether it be the Uvalde, Texas shooting, this case and or any other casework that he might be involved in. So
this is on Summer Wells.
Yesterday
being the 1 year anniversary. I went and talked about the day yesterday, but I had a technical issue where I had taken some video of different areas and things like that, and wanted to go over it. I hope I have the technical issue worked out so I can actually play those videos. And that's what we're doing tonight. It's really just part 2 of continuation of last night.
Oh,
Definitely.
beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, Boss Blake was telling me about your conversation that you guys had, and I was, oh man, I missed it.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
actually
I was tied up with a number of things I was
Yeah.
doing. I mean, we was actually supposed to go live Tuesday, and I had to move it because I was handling a couple of things which prevented me from doing so. So I told Boss, I said, let's do it Thursday, because I know that Wednesday is going to be Summer Wells Day, and a lot of the folks that's been following the case are going to be a part of the that case, the vigil that they had for Summer yesterday at around 6 o'clock and everything. And I didn't want to try to compete with viewership and have a lot of people miss out on what we brought here tonight.
absolutely, and I was there pretty much all day in Warriors Path State Park, buzzing around Kingsport because I live in Kingsport essentially. I'll put that out there. I'm just not saying exactly where. Um, but I was buzzing around taking video and some still pictures. Actually, only one still picture, but my video clips are really only like a minute and a half, 2 minutes long. But I think I have some interesting information that has not been shown or pointed out in different areas that have always been questioned and needed to be taken a look at as far as. And I will explain in the greater detail what they are.
Okay, great.
Most definitely.
Definitely. So I'm just going to copy and paste your link for tonight's live in there. I know that Double Rainbows had put it. Okay, thank you, Double Rainbows. I was trying to help out too. And if you're not subscribed to RJ, please do. Thank you, RJ, for joining us here tonight, Mr. Bossman Blake. If you're not subscribed to the Boss Man, my partner in covering these cases, please do. If we can drop Mr. Bossman Blake his link in the chat room. We only have one moderator, but then again, we don't have the drama. Most other channels have, thank goodness, because they don't want to hear what we got to say. So that's good, you know. But yes, thank you, Miss Naisha, once again for being a very important part of this case coverage and joining us here in tonight's live on my channel, covering the mysterious death of Jermaine Covington, your husband. And we're going to continue. I'm going to talk to Bossman later on tonight in reference to the new upcoming live. We're going to go back to his channel. He's going to pick the day and the time. And then we're going to go behind the scenes, discuss the information that we're going to cover for part 2 series on his channel. And then we'll make a new date for part 2 once again back on my channel. So we're going to be covering this in certain segments. But for those that miss it, don't miss it. Be there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it's been a great live. I appreciate you for hosting tonight, John, and I thank everybody for tuning in. And stay tuned for the next live on my channel. And we still got a lot of work to do. So
yes, we do.
Y'all stay tuned and keep supporting the channels that actually trying to do something positive and bring something positive out of a bad situation. So with that being said, hug your kids, love your kids. Y'all stay vigilant. I'm going.
All right, boss man. Thank you so much, bro. We will connect. And at it again, media. Where you been? I missed the hell out of you. How you doing, lady? I got to catch up with you. I got to catch up with a number of people. I've just been so busy offline. It's been hectic, but I'm starting to juggle down. I like it when I start to juggle down, because then you get to see me. a little bit more than what is it? Once every 2 weeks now? Once every 3 weeks? Where's John? He's usually stirring the pot on his channel. So yes, but I'll be connecting with you at it again media. Much love to you, and thank you so much for joining our live. I'm about to close it up. Try to keep it under the 3 hour mark. I'm at 2:39 right now. So, but yes, thank you, Double Rainbows, for solo moderating tonight. It's good to know that there are some folks that do respect the chat room. We don't have a lot of nonsense here. Thank goodness we don't stand for it. And it's being respectable, always respectable. And it's the best place to be, because the other channels that's got 3 and 5 and 1,000 people in them, and the chat room's flying, and you're not able to read everybody's comment, it can get very, very crazy. And so I'm very appreciative of the audience that I go live for. And I thank 2 other people I want to thank, which was actually a couple of them. Miss Leslie B, Miss Jan Jan, Miss Aquahoma, Miss Anna. Thank you so much for your wonderful contributions. I wanted to make sure I said that, and it's every time I get off the live, my phone starts to blow up, and I'm thinking it's an email or text message, whether I'm talking to boss or something like that. And all of a sudden, I'm directed to my email to say that there was a love contribution being sent from supporters of my channel. And so, and I'm like, okay, oh, wow, I got to remember next time I go live to put out a major thank you, major shout out to the ladies that take very good care of John Q and make sure that I stay on point and I stay with you. Let me just do a last rundown. I want to thank once again the people that showed up and was a part of today's panel. Mr. Boss Blake, my brother, always sends out solid love to Mr. Boss Blake for being able to squeeze out of his time a portion of it to share back with me on my channel, covering the stories that matters most. Miss Chloe Olvera, also a content creator on YouTube, has her own channel, has been covering the Kanika Jenkins case to this day. So you may want to go check her out as well. And RJ, content creator on YouTube, joining us here on the panel discussing the stories that matter the most. And you guys have been solid with me, and I got to come around the corner and be solid with you. So once we get everything worked out, we'll be going back to Boss Blake's channel, and then we're going to come back to my channel. I'm hoping to get at least a table talk live in for this Sunday. I'm not sure right now what that schedule is going to be, but I will know much better on Saturday. And if it's posted for Sunday, you know where I'm going. Now, when you bringing back Table Talk? I'm working on it. And when you're bringing back Q Squared? I'm working on it. You've got some busy people over here. We have our lives. You know what I mean? We make sure that we're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things with the right folks and people to make the right difference. Family time is most important. I've always stressed that to everyone, and they know that about me. My family is numero uno, and when they need my time, they always got it. That's what I'm here for. And then once that time is freed up, then I got my time. I can do some me time and get to you time, which is all of us together. That's how we roll. So with that said, I want to wish everyone a good evening. Thank you so much for dropping by, showing and sharing the love that you've always shared with me. And hopefully today, just a little bit, we shared some back with you. The unfolding of a compelling story called The Mysterious Death of Jermaine Covington out of New Jersey. We're working on it. We're still working on the other cases, the Daniel Robinson case. We're still working with some in some areas concerning Summer Wells. Also, The Boys, Classic and Sincere. Their case will be coming up next month, the 25th. They moved the court date up. They had a continuance from May 25th, so they gave a 60-day continuance. So that's going to show up next month on the 25th. You know, we're going to be on top of that. Also, the Amari Nicholson case. There we go. Amari Nicholson case. Things are developing there. I believe that they're ready to go to trial either the end of this month or the beginning of next month. So there's going to be a lot of court coverage cases coming about. And the thing that we look for is justice in every single one of them. So yes, we're on it. You know that, because you know that's how we get down. This is how we do it. And you know my motto, we always say, let's go to work. Much love, be well, and stay blessed with Godspeed. Until next time, let's go to work.